3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey, you! Yeah, you! Come here for a minute. I want to talk to you. Mama says you're brain dead. Bang your head against the wall.
Bang, 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 bang.
Can't find peace of mind. Brain needs an overhaul. Bonehead, brain dead. We're all the same. You can't think straight when your heart is in pain. Turn around, hit the ground.
Time to lay your burden down.
The views expressed on this broadcast of the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show are those of the co-host and guest and do not necessarily reflect those of our affiliates. The topics and opinions on today's show should not be considered as medical, psychological, or professional advice. Take 12 Radio is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. And now, here's your host,
The man, the myth, the legend.
the Monty Man.
I'm telling you the truth, man. I
Ain't gonna lie to you.
good guys, bad boys, we're all the same.
Saved by grace is the name of the game. Turn around, hit the ground. Time to lay your burden down. Welcome to the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show. Tony's here.
Good morning.
Denver's here.
Morning.
Marv is here.
Yes, I am.
We are all here.
Yes.
And I have a new sweater.
I was about to say, that looks like
Isn't it lovely?
you're like Mr. Rogers now.
I have two sweaters. I can take one off when I come in the house, take my shoes off, put my slippers on, put my other sweater
You
on.
could do the jig,
the what?
the shoe thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did. Wait,
Oh,
he
you
popped
need a
his
mitten to do that.
He popped his shoe off and he'd throw it in the air and catch it with the other one and whatever.
See, Jalapeno would do that with you.
Your cat? I want to thank the folks at, before we go over, thank the folks at Podomatic for sponsoring this show. If you would like to do a podcast, your own radio show, that kind of thing, the people you want to get in touch with is the folks at Podomatic. Visit their website at podomatic.com. There you go. You can actually do a show for free. You can start out doing it for free, and then they have different packages, and they're just great folks. So visit Podomatic at podomatic.com. Podomatic. Say it, Tony.
Isn't there like an 80s song like that? Podomatic. Something like that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I might have missed that.
Like Duran Duran or something like that.
80s was kind of a blur.
Oh,
but
okay.
I don't remember.
Ask James. He knows all the 80s. He knows every.
A little blurry back in the 80s. Is it blurry for you, Marv?
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
He barely remembers the 70s. That's when like the
Right.
Flower Children were. Our Silent Cowboy.
So today's show is inspired by a show I listened to the other day on Recovery 101 on their radio show, and their show was entitled "My Lord and Savior?" ? And I listened to the show, and what they were talking about was, is it appropriate to mention your higher power by name in a meeting? Or should you just be general about it? And there were some things that they were talking about. It was a very interesting show. I enjoyed listening to it. Bruce and the gang over there. And just Google Recovery 101 and listen to their shows. They're very entertaining, and they do a really good job. So I just wanted to plug them for a minute, but it kind of inspired me. So we're going to talk about that too. And so I entitled this week's show Higher Power Specific. And so we're going to be talking about that as well. Before we do any of that, we're going to have some fun
I
like we always
skipped
do.
my month.
You didn't get your...
No, I only shave my legs. We don't shave like all the time.
What Tony's talking about is the Dollar Shave Club.
Yeah, let's dabble into this a little farther. What?
So every month, if you're a member of the Dollar Shave Club, you get this little magazine, and it has some interesting things in it.
Yes, I skipped my month.
You didn't get a month? What'd you do? Cancel? You get it automatically.
skipped
every
it.
Let's see the legs. What's going on?
But you get it every month anyway.
No, you don't. If you don't get the package, you don't get the thing.
Oh, you didn't sign up for a
No, I
subscription?
signed up for monthly, but you can skip a month.
Oh, you can?
Uh-huh.
I did not know that.
They send you an email.
I did not know that. See, I've got so many razors now. It's, they just keep sending them to
No,
me.
they send you an email, and then you can say skip or deliver.
Give Tony a couple.
I did not know that.
No, I don't need any. I am like,
She's Scandinavian.
I don't know what that means, but probably so.
I got an incoming call. What's that all about?
Oh, my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Out of the Dollar Shave Club magazine, I thought this was kind of interesting.
I was hoping you would read that.
A breath of fresh air.
Oh Lord. Not
So
after
I
every-
picked three of these. So listen to this. Commercial airliners, when you're
Oh,
taking
Lord.
a flight somewhere. Despite what most people think, airline passengers aren't all breathing in each other's coughs and farts. People think that they are. They think that they're, they are.
It's not recirculating air?
The air is actually drawn in from outside by the engines, then pressurized and circulated throughout the cabin. It's probably much cleaner than your typical office air, being completely refreshed about 20 times an hour compared to 12 for the average office.
20 times. That sounds kind of minimal, too.
Yeah, but
Personally.
it's cleaner than sitting in your office with a bunch of people.
So, like, if you want to be fresh, just, like, put your mouth on the vent.
Put your mouth up to the engine. Okay, what about this is kind of weird. This is fresh air on subway trains.
Good.
Have you ever ridden a subway?
No.
You ever ridden a subway? Well, I had the distinct displeasure of riding the subway in New York City.
In New York?
Yeah.
And you're still
Oh
alive?
my goodness. I mean, first of all,
Good God.
it's like a heater down there in these tunnels. But here's a gross fact. 15% of the airborne matter in subway cars is human skin.
See, that's why you don't have the subway.
There are also
Shut up.
There's also there are also double the normal levels of airborne fungi from the rotting wood of
Oh my God,
railway
my stomach.
ties, plus high levels of metal dusts from the wheels and brakes, which are kicked up every time the train comes to a screeching halt. The air is filtered a little by air conditioning, but all things considered, you're probably better off dodging mouse turds. And it's pretty bad. Pretty bad.
So
subway
horses
air.
are cleaner than subways.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a lot of fresh air horseback.
Jesus. I'd rather ride a horse.
Check this out. This is the third one. Garbage trucks.
Way to pick them. Way to pick them.
They're probably cleaner than subways in New York.
A study from 2016 found that bacterial and fungal concentrations inside garbage truck cabs were 11.7 and 111 times higher, respectively, than outside the truck. This, they concluded, is because garbage truck drivers don't always wash their outer work clothes, since they are often, well, they're messing around with the garbage all day long. These pathogens are then spread throughout the fleet. The flight home doesn't sound so bad now, right? On the plane.
So you're telling me that garbage people do not clean their clothes? Okay, I work
Well,
at
all day long they're in garbage. They're dumping garbage. They're getting stuff on them all day long. They're not going to wash their clothes every time they make a house call.
But I work at McDonald's and I still hate smelling. I wash my clothes at least twice or three
But you
times
don't
a
wash
week.
your clothes during your shift.
I would if I could. We have a dish.
But you can't.
I could.
The
They
garbage
wouldn't
truck
like it.
drivers, by the end of the day.
Oh, I thought you meant the week.
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they put on their same overalls. Ooh,
You
that
never
would be-
know. People are dirty.
That would be gross.
Have you
wouldn't it?
flown on the subway? Flown on the subway.
Flown on a subway.
Couple times.
Stop right there.
Uh-oh.
It's time for Monty Man's Weekly Wine.
I love the baby. The baby is so cute.
She loves the baby.
I love the baby.
She loves the baby. All right, I have two.
Of course.
The over-packaging of items, small items in stores. Have you ever bought a screwdriver or breath freshener or something like, and it comes in a package that is sealed in this ultra-thick plastic, and it's 5 times larger than the item you bought, and it takes 10 snips to get into the package to break it open?
Oh, like Amazon.
Amazon?
Mm-hmm. They do that too.
Do they do that too?
Yeah,
Or
Well,
Wish.
quite a bit.
Well, they do this in stores so it makes it harder to shoplift the item. You know, like you'll have a little tiny bottle of something and it'll be in a big old giant package hanging on a hook, so you can't just shove it in your purse or stick it in your coat pocket.
I thought that's what the thingy was for.
What thingy?
The metal thingy.
What metal thingy?
Security.
Yeah, but they're not going to security code every single tiny item that they sell in the store.
Oh, okay.
So manufacturers will put it in these packages, you know, and I mean,
Heat shrunk around them.
yeah, but I mean, the plastic is so hard
Yeah.
that you can actually cut your hands if you try to rip these things open.
Or break a razor blade.
So I don't like it. I don't like it.
I agree with you.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you've run into that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and you get some scissors, and it breaks the scissors, and so then you got to
Yeah.
get some pliers, and I had to use vice grips to open a package at Christmas time.
It's for me. It's almost like road rage to have to open
Amen,
one of
Mark.
those.
Yes,
Exactly. It started out
James has
simple.
horrible
but-
road rage.
and then if the item doesn't work and you go to take it back, they go, "Where's the packaging?" I said, "Are you kidding me?"
You know what makes me mad is when they like a rubber spatula and they do that shrink wrap around it.
Right.
What's the sense of that?
I don't know,
Just for the barcode.
but spatulas are always good to buy at Christmas time,
Well,
right?
I know.
Everybody
I didn't say
needs a
it
new
was a great
spatula. Okay, the other one is toasters that only toast one side of your bread. That just ticks me off.
No.
Well, quit buying them at thrift stores.
No, but they even new ones. Okay, so a toaster, you put your bread in there, and there's always one side of the bread that is toasted less than the other side. Why can't the elements be of equal value on both sides for your toast? It doesn't make any sense to me. Well, our toaster has this button that's for bagels. It's got a bagel button,
I have a bagel button.
right? And so the bagel button purposely decreases the heat on one side, you know, the smooth side of the bagel, so it doesn't burn it. And so then I get that. But when the bagel button is not pressed, my toast ought to be toasted equally on both sides of my bread.
Okay, you do not want James making you toast because you know what he does?
What?
He takes the toast out and then turns it around.
Yeah, I do that too. I have to do that too.
You butter the wrong side.
No, I have to turn it around to get equal.
No, James butters the wrong side.
How does the toaster know on the bagels which side's the
I don't think it
smooth side
does.
and
You have to do that. So you put the bagel in with the smooth side towards the element
There's a
that
smooth
turns
side?
off. So
thought it
you
was
push
all
the
gray.
bagel button, and one side on each slot is a lot less heat than
But
the
how
other
do you know
side.
what's front or back?
Well, you cut a bagel in half, and
Oh, no, a bagel. Okay.
Yeah, a
I thought
bagel.
you meant toast.
not a beagle, a bagel.
So, no, he takes it out and then he turns it around and butters the wrong side.
What side does he butter?
He butters the untoasted side.
That's weird.
Uh-huh.
James, you're weird.
That whole
Every time.
topic was weird. What are you talking about?
Marv's like, horses just have feet and you just put shoes on.
Wow.
Well, a toaster will never lie to you either. So that's it for Monty Man's weekly whine.
All right.
You got anything to whine about, Tony? Anything to whine about this week?
I did actually. I thought about something in the bathtub last night. Now I forgot about it.
Okay, Marv, anything
No,
to
no.
nothing? Never
Where's-
anything?
I had mine. I even forgot what it was now. It can't rival toasters. I'm
Oh.
sorry. Nothing's going to beat that today.
I don't think I should put my one on the air.
Really?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, come on.
Oh, you guys are awful.
I know, huh?
Oh, she meant.
Come on.
Come on, bring it on, bring it on. Come on, take it.
Roommates who don't pay rent.
Roommates that don't pay rent.
I'll let y'all go with that.
I agree.
Yeah.
If your roommate isn't paying rent,
Or doing anything to find a job.
I
forgot about that.
I made the silly comment of, well, how much does she have to pay for rent?
I gave you the
zero.
look.
Yeah.
That's why I blared my Carrie Underwood this morning. Looking for my keys while Monty called me.
No, I'm looking for a room here shortly in a month or 5.
You can have hers.
Well, I don't know.
Let me tell you, if that is
she's
your
so
home,
lazy,
and
it's
you have
unreal.
if you've made an agreement with a tenant that they pay rent, and you're letting them stay there month after month after month because your heart's too big,
And she got fired from her last job for clocking in and then going to get her medicine.
But listen, Tony, if you're allowing that to happen, it's your fault.
It is.
Well spoken.
Shoot your codependency in the foot and kick her to the curb.
If it wasn't for
serious.
my brother and her being his girlfriend, I would. But you're right. I have to give a heart.
You know what? I'll tell you something. We teach people how to treat us.
And that's not
we teach
it.
them how to treat us. And the deal of it is, if I don't know about you, but if I get away with something, I'm going to do it again.
Oh, that's good because she does do
And
that.
if you allow her to do that, you're giving her
I'm
permission.
enabling.
You're giving her
I'm
permission.
horrible.
You are enabling.
We're going to have a conversation when I get home then.
Yes, you are. Mm-hmm. And we'll have a report next week.
Yeah.
Room for rent.
I need a horse.
Prospect.
I need a stallion to get
Prospect.
away from the situation. Can you hook me up, please?
Room for rent. Room for rent. Okay. This is interesting, though. I was looking it up at the top 10 things people complain about or whine about.
Oh, you have more ones?
In the year 2017. We just left that. Now we're in 2008. So I picked the top 3. Okay, number 3 that people complain about, supposedly, is stepping in dog poo.
That's my favorite
That's a
thing.
good one right there. I don't like tracking that nasty in the carpet.
You don't live with
People don't like
Nevaeh,
stepping
do you?
in dog poo.
No, I don't like it.
Number 2 is people who eat with their mouth open.
That's another
Oh
one.
my god, that
I
is
don't
so
like that.
disgusting.
Marge.
It's like
Mar's
dogs
mustache is
do
just
it bad
beaming.
enough and they poop, but have a human eat with their mouth open is like I want to duct tape their mouth shut. It's gross. It's seriously disgusting.
Especially when the food falls
see
out.
more.
Right? Like mashed potatoes. Oh my god, that's so horrible. Good God.
Oh, Lordy.
Yeah. I'd like to sit at the table and watch you watch them. Personally, I just put earplugs in and watch you.
Oh my god, Kylie's horrible at it.
Is she really?
Oh my god. I love my daughter, but Jesus.
I love my dad, and he's gone to be with the Lord, bless his heart. But he would do that. He would talk while he's eating,
Yes!
and pieces of lettuce would fall out, things like that. It's like it was actually an amazing thing to watch. It was like somebody should be filming this. Well, the number one thing, according to this particular website, that people whine about in 2017 was people who smell.
Oh my god.
Okay, Tony, what do you got to say about that?
I have to get a talking to from all my managers to tell people they smell. For not telling.
That's
people
your
they
job?
smell.
To let them know?
No, I have to get talked out of telling that they smell.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, it's a case
It's
of
horrible.
Now, to people's credit, there are some people
That can't help it. I
That
get
can't
it.
help it. They sweat profusely. They just have a condition that.
But if you have a house and you have water,
But
bathe.
we're not talking about that. There's a lot of people that just aren't very good at personal hygiene, and they just stinky poo.
They're riding the subway.
Walter was
obviously.
one
Maybe
of
they're
them.
garbage men.
oh no, Walter stunk. He was horrible. It was gross.
Really?
Yes, it was naturally too.
Oh, yeah. Like Monty says, some people just
It's
got it going
nasty.
on. They got it going on.
Oh my god. No, if you have a bath or a shower, bathe.
Get off that website.
Oh, good
Jeez,
Lord.
Monty.
All right, that's it for the weekly whine. We're going to take a break, so listen to this, and we'll be right back.
Turn around, hit the ground, time to lay a burden down.
Too much God talk for you? Then you've tuned into the wrong station. This is Take 12 Recovery Radio.
Hey there, this is Monty Meyer from Take 12 Recovery Radio, and I would like to invite you to tune into our brand new show, The Victory Report. the first and third Wednesday of every month for powerful testimonies featuring the men and women of Teen Challenge of Arizona who have been set free from life-controlling issues such as addiction, codependency, and self-harm. Simply visit us at take12radio.com and click on Follow Me on Podomatic. Once there, you can download any of our shows, including the all-new Victory Report. So mark your calendars for Wednesday, February 7th at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and join us to experience the solution you'll hear in every testimony. That's take12radio.com for the all-new Victory Report. Welcome back. Isn't it time for Take 12 Trivia?
Yes, it's time, Monty Man, for Take 12 Trivia.
I thought so.
Brought to you by that award-winning magazine, the 12-Step Gazette. Visit their website at 12stepgazette.com. It's all yours, Monty Man.
All right, let's hear a little drum roll, please. There you go. Okay, Take 12 Trivia. All right, this is useless trivia. Absolutely useless trivia.
Oh,
I
boy.
love useless trivia.
I'll
Like
carry
my
this
roommate.
for a few
There's no
moments.
multiple choice on this. You have to guess. If you get it,
What?
if you get it wrong,
That is a setup, Monty.
if you get it right.
Good Lord.
All right, number one, people with higher incomes. You know, Tony's great. You can just go, good morning, and she starts laughing.
I know. That's what I love about it. It just makes you
Do you know
smile.
what James says when he listens to the show? He looks at me like, really? He's like,
Well,
why
he
are you
will
even
today.
laughing? I'm like, I don't remember.
People with higher incomes generally prefer their toilet paper to come over the roll or under the roll.
Over the roll.
Over the roll? What do you think, Denver?
Being in the prestigious janitor position I'm in, we prefer it over.
People with higher incomes prefer it over the roll rather than under the roll?
Yes, they'll go over.
Okay, what do you think, Marv?
I'm going to go under.
You're going to go under? Sorry, Marv.
Oh, Marv. I'm from the country
Never go
too,
under.
brother. Don't worry.
Never go under.
It don't matter as long as there's toilet paper on that
I
roll.
was just trying to be different.
I know you were.
We love you, Mark.
60% of people making more than $50,000 a year prefer the toilet paper to come over the roll, while 73% of those making under $20,000 prefer to go under.
That is so weird.
Now, how do they figure that? That's what I want to know.
So weird.
This is amazing.
Okay. Number two.
All that while she's butchering my picture over here.
No, I'm fixing it.
Okay.
Okay, number two. Have women been found...
Listen to this. This is for you. Has women been...
Have women been found to blink more often than men or less?
No, it's true. We do.
More.
Marv says more.
See?
You say more too? What do you think?
All right. I'm going to go on a limb here and go, oh, hell yeah.
And you got mad at me for cuss words.
No, I said
Oh,
hey.
okay.
Yes.
Well, okay. Yes,
You know why? Because we're like, girl, please. Mhm.
You guys are right. A study of spontaneous blinking patterns found women blink 19 times per minute compared to men at 11 times. There you go.
There you go.
I think in future you need to dig up some women compared to men trivia because there are some
Ooh,
very
wait, hold on. I am,
interesting traits that
No,
women have.
that is wrong because I'm the only one.
So what we were joking with Tony about cussing was she put her favorite football team, the Saints, won the football game.
Yes!
Yes?
Yes.
So she went, hell yeah. And I said, well, if they're called the Saints, wouldn't you say heaven yeah?
Yes, Monty got on me about that.
No, I just thought that was a cute response.
It was cleverness.
It's funny how much credit we give hell, isn't it? For
yeah,
good things?
yeah. Hell's not.
And when I
remember that-
posted that, I looked at James. I'm like, watch, Monty will post something.
Well, it's just interesting. It'll be interesting to find out where that came from. Why do we give hell credit for good things? That is kind of weird.
Because we like to be naughty.
I guess maybe that's it.
Well, yeah.
Well, and we already played the Panthers in the playoffs twice, and we beat them a third time, so I don't know why. So
Right.
happens.
All right, here's number 3. What is a jiffy?
A what?
A jiffy.
Isn't that what you post on Facebook? Or is that a GIF?
That's a GIF.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, Jiffy's peanut butter.
Okay, you say peanut butter? What's a jiffy, Marv?
A baby kangaroo.
A baby kangaroo?
I don't know.
No, I thought that was a kid.
That's a Joey.
Oh, a Joey.
Yeah, it's a Joey.
A Jiffy.
You don't really, you really don't want me to try answering this, do you?
That's a Jiffy.
Because I'm going to.
Okay, go ahead. Deborah,
All
what's a
right, it's
jiffy?
when you walk up behind somebody and you grab their underwear and
That's
you
a
pull
wedgie.
it. No, that's a jiffy too.
No,
That's
that's
a
not.
That's a wedgie, right?
That's a wedgie. Where the hell
How am I supposed to?
heck did you get Jiffy?
Where in the
heaven did you?
where in the heaven was I supposed to come up with that answer?
Jiffy's peanut butter.
All right, enlighten us, Marty.
All right. A jiffy in computer engineering is the length of one cycle of the computer's system clock, around 10 milliseconds. In chemistry and physics, a jiffy is the moment of time it takes for light to travel the distance of 1 centimeter.
I knew that.
Listen, that is an
Do you not
over.
realize we're drunks?
That is over the top toilet paper questions.
Alcohol
Okay.
addicts. Like that's what we read in the.
Once you ever heard anybody say, he thought
I'll
of
see
that?
you in a
He thought of
jiffy.
that in a jiffy.
Well, it's not like we know what it means.
Well, it means really, really fast, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Here's the last one, Tony.
Underroll toilet paper.
Okay, let's see how Tony does. NASA.
Oh Lord.
Oh, she didn't laugh.
Well, there it is.
But just wait, Tony. Just wait.
Do you poop in space?
Well, listen. NASA had to rename the sizes of the apparatus used for male astronauts to pee from small, medium, and large to large, gigantic, and humongous.
Wait, is that your manhood?
Yeah,
Yes.
that'd be the man. Stop pointing. Stop pointing.
So what does this all have to do with recovery?
Grande.
That's what I'm wondering.
It's good for the soul.
Because
laughter.
we're not a glum lot. And
Yeah.
we
Wait,
prove
you
it
had
here
to
every
rename
week.
your manhood?
No, they didn't rename their manhood. Although people's manhoods have earned several names. No, NASA had to rename the size of the apparatus used for male astronauts to pee from small, medium, and large to large, gigantic, and humongous.
Oh my God.
Why?
Oh.
Why did they have to rename it?
Oh. Gravity has effects. All right. Yeah, there you
I
go.
am telling
Tony.
you, if you can't
Stand
have
up.
if you can't have fun in recovery, you
Wait,
you
hold on.
are a sad lot, really, and we are not a glum lot.
You-
So why did they have to rename it, Tony?
Well, my original answer I cannot air on air.
You got to say on the air. What do you think, Marv? Why'd they have to rename it from small, medium, and large to large, gigantic, and humongous?
There's got to be a scientific answer like Denver.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there's not.
Oh.
Oh, can I?
Okay, well, I got the secondary answer.
Because there was no fit.
Guess what?
Wait,
What's
no.
what's your
Well,
answer?
After gravity, I'd have to go.
If gravity takes effect, then
Yeah, I just holes on it.
Well, you know that song that
You do not know what song's
Aruba,
on it.
Jamaica, come on, pretty baby. That song,
Kokomo?
Kokomo. There's a verse
Wait,
in there
there's a
about
space?
we'll let a little bit of gravity take effect. It's talking about what you're talking about, Denver. In that
I
song.
didn't know that happened though.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I need to go.
All right, I'll tell you why they renamed it. Because nobody was willing to admit to their size.
I was going.
I'm calling NASA today after the show. I am not kidding.
My second guess
I'm
was
not kidding. I'm gonna be like, is this real?
my second guess was ego because you're flying. To
You're right.
You're flying to the moon. All right, you're kind of special, and nobody wants to be average.
I don't think you can do that.
Humongous is over the edge, but
I think that's against law to have sex in space.
whoa, I don't know if we even addressed that.
I don't even think it's possible.
Where did that come from?
Where did that come from?
Like Lost in Space, like the Muppets?
Do they shave in space?
Oh my God, I'm not even going there.
All right.
I don't know what is going on. All right.
Poor Marv. He's like, I'm going to go home and have a couple of shots of coffee.
All right, let's close with a drum roll.
All right. All right.
There you go.
Me and Denver are bouncing off each other.
Oh, my goodness. All right, so listeners, if you've got some trivia you would like us to talk about,
Please.
Lost in Space trivia.
send it in to us. Would you please?
Muppets trivia. That's a good one.
We could do Muppets trivia.
I like Muppets trivia.
All right, so the topic this week, after all that chicanery or whatever you call
It's
it,
Denver's fault.
Hoopla.
hoopla, is higher power specific, and it was inspired by Recovery 101's show entitled "My Lord and Savior?" ? And in that show, they were talking about people that would mention their higher power in 12-step support meetings, specifically AA and NA. It could be any 12-step support meeting, I suppose, but those seem to be the ones where it is suggested that you be more general about who your higher power is, or use the phrase higher power. I mean, that's kind of the general consensus. You know, people use God, and they may use God, small g, to, you know, in a generic term. But they were talking about how, you know, some people might get offended or feel alienated or, you know, kind of feel uncomfortable if someone were to say, my higher power, Jesus Christ, the one and only God. And they also mentioned, well, if somebody said, well, Allah, the one and only God, or my higher power, Buddha, the one and only spiritual being, or something like that, following the statement of the name with making the point that it was the one and only God may be offensive to some people, and I understand that. I get that. But I wanted to kind of bounce it off you guys and see what you guys thought. How do you feel? And then I'll give you some of my ideas. Denver, how do you feel about if you're in an AA meeting, for instance, and somebody is higher power specific instead of saying higher power? Does that bother you at all? Or do you think that might be kind of iffy? Should we do that? What's your take on it?
I come from small town AA meetings.
Right.
And so we didn't have the
variety of people?
We didn't have, thank you for the word. I was looking for a smoother, gentler way to say that. We don't have the alternate outlook of everything going on that big city meetings would have. So higher power for most of us in a meeting was God. You know,
was it God generic, or was it God of the Bible or Judaism?
We heard God generic, I guess.
Okay.
Capital G, I would presume, with everybody.
Right.
But the talk, it was never afraid of the word Jesus.
Nobody was afraid of hearing
No, and my higher power, God, you know, it was addressed directly. It wasn't hee-hawed about. So I haven't been around that situation.
Okay.
And I would, at this state in my life, you know what? I'm there to fellowship and gain sobriety. So I'm not going to make a big fuss if you got some.
It's not a big deal to you.
It's not a big deal to me. If you're getting sober, and you know what? If that's making you feel better, that word. Your relationship with whatever your higher power is the important thing.
So if somebody said, my higher power grandfather, for instance, which would be a common Native American thing to say in some Native American circles, that wouldn't offend you at all.
No, I'm not going to be offended by it.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to throw darts at you for saying that.
Sure.
You're going to figure it out.
Right.
It's all going to come clear someday.
Right.
So who am I to fling the darts?
What if somebody said, my higher power Gertrude?
I'd laugh.
But it wouldn't be offensive.
I'm not going to take offensive. I'm not going to get up and walk out of the meeting, and I'm not going to throw my coffee on you. So.
Good. Tony, what's your take on all this?
Well, Right now, I'm channeling my inner Bruce.
Ooh.
And I think
What in the world does that mean?
Inner Bruce.
this is a good subject, and I feel Bruce right now. He would say, I don't care.
So Bruce was a co-host here for many years. Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, I don't think God should... I think that, like, makes people go away, but it also makes people attracted to the program because they don't... Like, with me, I didn't know that God still loved me even though I did horrible things.
Yeah.
Like, it's promising and it's a bad thing at the same time. It's like a catch-22. It's like... You don't want to hear about it, but you want to hear about it, and it's just how your own personality is as how you take that, I think. And some people like it, and some people don't, and then there's the ones in between that are confused, like I was.
Right.
Like, I was brought up one way, and then I see now that, like, through the years, that he still loves me, even though I did all these horrible things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people think God... turns their back on them. And so I think when they come into the program and hear about God, they're like, oh my God, he doesn't hate me and I'm not going to hell and, you know,
Do you think it's more effective when they're not specific about the name
I
of their
think
higher
it's more
power?
effective when they are specific.
So you think so you're
Like,
not
with
you're not
me,
offended
it's-
at all if somebody says my higher power is Jesus Christ.
Mm-mm.
So what if
Because
they
I
say
think-
my higher power Allah?
Yeah, I was going to say, what if they come in different?
And there's different things for different people.
So that doesn't bother you either? Okay. Good. So you think it's a good thing to be specific. Okay.
Yeah. I think there's different auras of the whole thing, but I mean...
So that's
for
actually
me,
benefited
it-
you. So
Yeah.
That's benefited you.
Yeah.
That's been your experience. And aren't we talking about our experiences? Really? So for you, that was a benefit.
Okay, I'm going to say something on air, and I'm going to regret saying this, but like with the whole...
Say it.
I hope my parents don't listen to the show. The whole abortion thing that I was texting you about.
Right.
Like, I thought God hated me.
Oh, bless your heart. Right. But you know different now, right? Yeah. Yeah. God loves us regardless of our goof ups, mistakes, bad choices, right?
Thank goodness.
And
Loves
I have
us anyway.
to be honest with the people, or else then
Yeah. Yeah.
you have to share your experience. Right?
So you really learned that God was a God of unconditional love in your meetings, didn't you? And you heard that regardless of who they said their higher power was. You heard that. Yeah. Good for you.
And
Marv?
if my parents ever listen, I hope they don't listen to this show because I was not honest with them. And that was after Kylie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally right after Kylie. Sorry. Go
It's
ahead.
okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's gut level stuff. Marv, what do you think about all this?
Well, I've got 2 or 3 ideas
Sure.
about it, and I got to say this: 35 years ago, if you walked into an AA meeting here in Albany
Right.
and said anything about Jesus Christ, you would be ostracized.
You would be.
What does
Yes,
that mean?
You would be corrected in the middle of your share.
Oh.
yes, but at the same time, I have noticed in the last, I'm going to say 5 or 6 years, that has become more acceptable than what it was.
If they mention Jesus.
Yes.
What about other names like Allah, grandfather?
I haven't seen any major disturbance over any of that kind of stuff.
Over any of it?
In AA.
Yeah.
My whole deal is I don't really know how to say this either, is if I'm going to share, I try the best I can to come at a problem from a scriptural point of view in a language that even the newcomer would understand.
Right.
But at the same time, my deepest conviction is Christ
Sure.
through everything. But I kind of I kind of feel like I don't want to be the one, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong. It's just kind of what I've done through the years.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the one to insult or hurt somebody's feelings or
alienate them,
make an enemy out of them,
right?
Because of my convictions.
Mm-hmm.
But see, there's a contrariness there because Christ says that we are, if we're going to be ashamed of him, then he's going to be ashamed of us.
Right.
So there's this contrary thing that's kind of hanging out there for me. I don't know if anybody else thinks about that, but does that make sense?
Yes.
It bothers me on one hand, but on the other hand, I don't want to create a problem either.
Well, this brings an interesting point, and I think that it speaks to what you just said. So let's look at this from a Christian point of view, first of all, here, as it relates to what you just talked about. So all three of us in this room are born-again Christian believers.
Four.
Four, yeah, excuse me. And the cat and the dog.
I'm still here.
Yeah, you're still here. Sorry. All four of us. And so it's going to be kind of natural for us to kind of lean in that direction, but let's address what Marv was saying. So in Matthew 10, so because we're Christians, our references are going to be from a Christian point of view. That's just, otherwise we're not practicing our Christianity. So we're going to look, and other people may not look at things that way because they're not Christians, and it's not fair to expect them to. They don't have the same faith we do. So I can't expect a Muslim to believe like I do because they don't. But having said that, Matthew 10:32-33 says, "Whoever therefore shall confess me before men, him I will confess also before my Father which is in heaven. But whosoever shall deny me before men, I will also deny before my Father which is in heaven." Now, here's what I want to say about that. I don't think you're necessarily denying Christ's name by not mentioning him in a meeting.
Correct.
I think when somebody says to you, and we want to go back to who was the chief denier in the New Testament as far as an example goes, that was Peter. They confronted him and they asked him, "Aren't you the guy that was with Jesus?" And he denied him 3 times. They asked him 3 times, and he said, "No, I don't know him." That's different than not mentioning him in a meeting. So if somebody comes up to me in a meeting or asks me after the meeting or even in the meeting, "Is Jesus your higher power?" and I say no, and he is, that's denying Christ. But just not mentioning it, Jesus isn't hindered by me not being higher power specific in the meeting. He can still express his love even if I don't say his name. It's denying it. So, because I know Christians in AA that will say, we use the scripture verse and say, well, if I don't say who he is in the meeting, I'm denying him. That's not denying him. You know what I'm saying? Denying him is when you're asked if he is, and you say no when he really is your higher power. What would you say, Tony?
Like Pastor Kelly said yesterday in the sermon. Like he gave Peter 3 chances to make it right when he denied him the whole time. He didn't say like what you're saying. He basically denied Jesus as his Savior.
Yes.
And he gave Peter 3 times to make it correct.
So he was lying because he was. But he was telling the Romans that he wasn't. Mm-hmm. That's denying. So that's different. That's different. So don't think you're denying Christ if you don't mention him by name in a meeting. Doesn't mean you're denying him. But if you're asked point blank, right, that's different. Mm-hmm. What are you going to say, Never?
No, you got somebody new in a meeting, and you come out guns a-blazing with Christ. You can scare them away pretty quickly.
If you come out guns a-blazing about any deity, supposedly.
Exactly. Any higher power specifically.
Right.
But what you said, we're not denying Jesus or God or our higher power by not blatantly blurting it out. Right. We're just being conscious of other people's feelings, and that's good when they're in a tender state, you know?
Very good point.
Yeah.
But maybe they weren't ready.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is they will come to
Like
know.
me, I need bluntness.
They will come to know. Well, if you stick around long enough, you're going to find a little bluntness at a meeting. All right.
I think it's
Amen to
like
that.
It's
different
gonna
things for
show
different
up
people, though. Like there's people that need babying, and there's people like me that need bluntness.
Bluntness will come.
But you can't always
But
tiptoe around other
like
people,
I said,
though.
I don't. You hit it dead on the nose for me. Is you're not denying when you get asked, if you say no, then that is.
But
denying.
that shouldn't make you share differently, though.
It won't make me share differently.
Well, I know not you, but I mean with anybody. I mean, I think there's people who should share the way they share, and if other people don't like it, they can either go back out or stay in and
If
listen.
they come to you specifically and ask, they're either hungry or they're looking for a fight.
I'm
You know,
ready either way.
and then that gets that out in the open, and you can go from there and let the Spirit guide your steps after that.
So I did something one time several years ago. I was in a meeting and somebody said their higher power was grandfather. And a fellow Christian in the room,
That's Native American, right?
right,
Then what's Allah?
that's Muslim,
Oh, okay.
stood up in the room while the guy was sharing and says, "We don't name our higher power by name." Now, he didn't say my higher power grandfather, who's the only God. He didn't say that. He just said my higher power grandfather, right? And I replied, and I know you're not supposed to do this in a meeting, but I replied, I says, you know what? You really need to leave him alone. That's his higher power. And we're in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. You really need to lay off of him.
And you were too nice.
And I didn't agree with the guy as far as I don't believe grandfather is God, but I do agree with his right to declare that he's not a Christian. I can't expect him to act like a Christian. That isn't even reasonable. He has a right. This is America, for crying out loud. I will not be censored in an AA meeting in America. So by the same token, if I want to say my higher power, Jesus Christ, I have every right to do that. However, I will say this. Just because you have a right to do something doesn't mean it's always wise.
The newcomer.
Yeah.
The newcomer,
Yep.
you know.
So I think it's important if you're in a meeting, and I say this all the time, the power of observation. I mean, look around, feel and see the tone of the meeting, what's going on. Mm-hmm. And when it's your turn to talk, at least I feel sort of a responsibility to stay in that
topic and all that stuff.
Yeah,
still the same thing.
and to kind of, I mean, after a while, you've been there long enough where hey, it's time to help people, and to realize what people are saying and see what's going on, and then whatever you're going to say, I try anyway to go along those same lines with the solution, and all 100% of the time, it's always spiritual. Those steps, that whole program, the whole thing is spiritual, but the new people don't know that.
Right.
And it's not based on nationality either. I mean, we can always put, like Kylie, she's a quarter Native American. I will never deny her of her heritage.
Right.
Like, what she wants to believe, whether it's God or grandfather, I will let her believe that. But we always have to put ourselves not above other people and just be like, okay, they identify, Jesus or God as this.
Right.
It's different, basically different strokes for different folks.
So, and I agree with Marv, and I think it's
and I do too.
And particularly if somebody's new and they've come out of a Christian background and they don't know the politically correct AA speech or NA speech, and they happen to say Jesus is my higher power, don't bash them in the meeting. Yeah. If you want to talk to them afterwards, this is why sponsorship's important. So they can, and we have 60%, at least from what we can gather. I don't know how accurate that is. But they say, that about 60% of people that attend 12-step meetings don't have sponsors, or they do, but they're just a phone number. They don't really use them. And that's one of the reasons why sponsorship, mentorship, spiritual advisorship is so important. So you have somebody that can kind of teach you, because we want to be effective to the person who still suffers, right? Mm-hmm. Isn't that the primary purpose, at least in Alcoholics Anonymous? And so how do we do that? Now, the definition, Webster's definition of a higher power, I thought this was interesting. Mm-hmm. A spirit or being such as God, capital G, so that's an example, that has great power, strength, knowledge, etc., that can affect nature and the lives of people. That's Webster's definition. Now, one of the things that I heard in Recovery 101 was their guest co-host had mentioned that somebody, I think it was him, that had mentioned somebody who says, well, I want to share my testimony. This is my testimony. He says, and that's what he said was that's something you hear in church. Well, no, not really. Let me tell you the definition by Merriam-Webster's of the word testimony. Number one, that means the most used, is a solemn declaration usually made orally by a witness under oath in response to interrogation by a lawyer or authorized public official. That's the number one definition. Number two, first-hand authentication, excuse me. No. First-hand authentication of a fact or evidence. Number three, an outward sign. Ooh. Number four, an open acknowledgement. And the last one used, a public profession of religious experience.
Speaker meeting.
So testimony is simply like we see on like the Home Shopping Network. People give their testimonial of My Pillow, or their testimonial of the Shake and Bake new Shake and Bake
I love
brand.
Shake and Bake.
I do too. But people give their testimonial. It's their statement of fact or experience with that issue. So the word testimony isn't just limited at church, for crying out loud. So, but if we're talking semantics, if you want to say, I gave my testimony in an AA meeting, or I shared my story in an AA meeting, or I shared my experience, strength, and hope, don't be picky about that. Who gives a rip? It's the context of what your story and your testimony or whatever is. And if you're sharing the solution, I don't care what you call it. But it's not limited to church. So don't think it is.
That's what I hate about these days. It's like everybody's addressed to their own opinion. I get it, but why do people have picked things apart?
I don't know. And here's the other thing I wanted to ask you guys. All right, in step 3, it says, I turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understood him. All right, so if I'm turning my will and my life over to the care of God, and if I understand him to be Jesus Christ, mm-hmm. and Jesus Christ says that I am to share the gospel, and I don't, then I have not really truly turned my will and my life over to him, because I'm refusing to do what he tells me. And the third step would suggest that it's no longer my will and my life, so I'm taking the direction of God. It's all throughout the big book. It's no longer my life. It's his. So I follow his direction. So when he tells me to speak, I speak. I don't care what the right of public opinion is. I answer to God. I don't answer to the GSR. I don't answer to the chairperson. I don't answer to the people in the meeting. I answer to God. And if God moves on me for me to share specifically who my higher power is, then I need to do that. But here's the key. If you're a Christian, I truly believe this, before you walk into the meeting, to a secular meeting, right, you really ought to pray and ask God to guide your words. And I think you'll find that there are times when you're going to want to speak that you shouldn't, and times that you should and you don't want to. Ask God to guide you. And I think what it comes down to, everything boils down to love. If we look at 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 7, it says, and this is from the Living Bible, if I had the gift of being able to speak in other tongues without learning them and could speak in every language there is in all of heaven and earth, but didn't love others, I would only be making noise. If I had the gift of prophecy and knew all about what is going to happen in the future, knew everything about everything, but didn't love others, what good would it do? Even if I had the gift of faith so that I could speak to a mountain and make it move, I would still be worth nothing at all without love. If I gave everything to poor people, and if I was burned alive for preaching the gospel but didn't love others, it'd be of no value whatsoever. Love is very patient. Love is kind. Love is never jealous or envious. It's never boastful or proud. It's never haughty or selfish or rude. Love does not demand its own way. It is not irritable or touchy. It does not hold grudges and will hardly even notice when others do it wrong. It is never glad about injustice, but rejoices whenever truth wins out. If you love someone, and let me just put my 2 cents there. If you love the someones in your meeting, you'll be loyal to them no matter what the cost. You will always believe in them, always expect the best of them, and always stand your ground in defending them. So when that guy stood up and said, "Grandfather, I felt as a Christian, it was my obligation to tell the guy that was telling him to shut up to leave him alone." So how loving are we being? Are we being specific about our higher power out of love? Or are we being boastful and I have a right to, and my higher power is better than yours, and I'm going to make that point? Mm-hmm. If we're doing that and it's not out of love, then I think we're out of line.
Agreed.
So check yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What do you
Bruce
think?
would have loved this topic.
Huh?
I said Bruce would have loved this
Bruce
topic.
would have.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, I really believe that you, as if you're a Christian, and we talk a lot about it because this is a Christ faith-based centered radio station. Mm-hmm. If you're a Christian and you want an opportunity to share Jesus Christ with people, all you got to do is ask God to put him in your life. He will. Mm-hmm. You'll have ample opportunity. You know. What do you think, Marv?
I was just thinking about an experience I went through not too long ago, where I shared Christ with a new member in AA, and he refused it. Mm-hmm. And he recognized the idea that he needed a higher power in his life, but he had some sort of thing against Christ.
Okay.
And so, anyway, I had sat there. We were at a restaurant, and I had went through the story about Christ and stuff. And I never, when it was all over, and he was pretty polite, and I mean, he didn't get mad or anything like that, but one of the things, I guess, what I'm trying to say is acceptance. Mm-hmm. The ability to accept, not like you were talking about the Native Americans, and we had Sharon on the show here,
Sharon S., yeah.
And I'm kind of going through that program that they have.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then the Allahs and the
Buddha or whatever. Yeah.
The idea of, okay, don't put God in a box.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And so I've really come to a lot of acceptance. I don't believe that stuff, but I accept that other people have the right to, like Denver said, it's at some point in time, things are going to change for them. The truth will come through.
Loving somebody in a Christ-like manner doesn't require the person to believe in Jesus to love them. It doesn't require that. God doesn't say, love your neighbor as yourself, only if they believe the way you do. It doesn't say that. Just as love them. And I think what we do sometimes is we think we have to defend God. Mm-hmm. We really don't. He doesn't need us to pull out our sword and cut the other guy's ear off, because guess what it'll do? It'll just put it back on. Right? Jesus did that in the garden. You know, Peter pulls his sword out and chops the Roman soldier's ear off, and Jesus just puts it back on the guy. You think that guy was a believer? No.
Might have been
And that's
after.
what, like my
Might have been
grandparents,
after, yeah.
because my grandpa was Baptist and my grandma was Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
But during the 3 months we were there for summertime, like on my mom's side, her parents, she had us go to both churches, one Saturday night and then one Sunday morning.
Okay.
And I think that's where my belief in whatever God came from was
Right.
the roots of my grandparents.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because they didn't make us believe one or the other. I mean, there's different types of gods for like different people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, and I will say, and I will confess this right out, because I believe in the God of Christianity, I believe what he said is true. Mm-hmm. If I don't believe everything he said as truth, then what makes anything he said true? So, so I believe it. And, you know, Philippians 2:10 says that at the name of Jesus, every knee shall bow in heaven and on earth, and every tongue confess. So at some point, everybody will recognize that Jesus Christ is the God who is God. They may still deny him as their Savior and Lord, but they'll recognize who he is, like in the last days or at the second coming. I truly believe that. I also believe that what he said in John 14, he said, if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. You know the way to the place where I'm going. And Thomas said to him, Lord, we don't know where you're going, so how can we know the way? And Jesus answered, and my belief now, that Jesus is either a liar, a lunatic, or he is who he said he was. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't follow a liar, and I wouldn't follow a lunatic. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you really know me, you will know my Father as well. From now on, you know him and have seen him. So either that is true or it is not true. And if I'm going to call him a liar, then it's not true. But I don't. So I do believe that's true. Now, I have a right to believe that, just as Joe Blow has a right to believe that the doorknob is the God who is God. That doesn't make him right, but he has that right in an AA meeting. And if I'm going to put love first, I am going to accept him and love him and care for him and offer the hand of my 12-step fellowship to him, regardless of what he believes. But I'm not going to apologize for what I believe. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. So there's that there. Any closing thoughts, Denver?
That's a pretty exhaustive love list that you gave us.
Yeah.
And I fall short regularly.
I
all
do too.
Of that.
I do too.
But in that being said, the compassion of loving somebody, especially in new recovery, is important. I think Marv hit on a beautiful subject of be aware of your surroundings and be sensitive in that meeting. Those of us that have a little bit of time, when we go in, you can see if somebody's on edge. You don't need to be in their face about my personal higher power unless they're going to ask about it.
That's right.
And then most certainly share your strength and where it comes from.
Yeah.
But yeah, be sensitive to your surroundings, and what a list of love.
Yeah. Yeah. There's the ideal, then there's the real. And I tend to fall into the real more than the ideal.
Yeah.
I fall short too.
Amen.
Yeah.
But this whole thing is a work in progress, daily by daily, it's step by step. So.
Yep. Tony, any closing thoughts?
Okay, so the Italian stallion comes out in me, and I'm just blunt sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially when I shouldn't be. In Denver, I was not undermining you whatsoever, so I apologize about that.
For what?
The God thing.
Oh.
And being blunt about it. So for that, I apologize, but I know that, I'm like my father. We just like being blunt. So, I mean, not everybody's like that, so I have to admit my faults, too.
Blunt's good. Blunt can be good. Sometimes you need that. Marv, any closing thoughts?
No, not really, except hang in there.
Amen.
Keep
coming back.
Tony, how can they listen to the show there, Tony Baboni?
Dun, dun, dun. No, it's a good thing. You can listen and download any of our shows by going to take12radio.com. That is the number 12, take12radio.com, and clicking on the Follow Me on Podomatic.
Follow me on Podomatic.
Uh-huh. And once there, you can download our app for Android or iOS, which is AKA iPhone.
Yes, it is.
Uh-huh. You can comment on the shows, love us or hate us, but we love. And we'd love to hear from you. And click on the love button because then it helps with our demographics and
Yes,
we
it
know where
does.
you're listening from.
That's right. Please do that. Denver?
Man, she's done that before. I'm
She
reading
has?
off.
I have
I'm
no
reading
idea.
off paper
I
here,
have never
folks.
done
So
that
hang
before.
on. You can also listen to the show on our YouTube channel. That'll be you simply go to take12radio.com and click on the YouTube icon. And if you'd like to send us your email, our email address will be take12. That's the letter 12 radio at Comcast.net. That's take12radio at Comcast.net.
I think you meant the number 12.
The number 12.
I did mean the number 12. What
We're not pointing out your
What'd
faults.
I say? Love me.
You said the letter 12.
The letter 12. Jeez, I'm still in recovery.
Gotta stop these bang things. Lemon drop, that's... Oh.
All right.
Folks, that's take 12, the number. All right. I almost said it again, man. Take 12 radio.
So, listen, if you got your panties in a bunch because somebody mentioned their higher power by name, Rule 62, don't take yourself so doggone seriously, really, please. Our closing song is by Heather Lane. It's called Amazing Grace. It's not what you think, really.
Oh, really?
It's about a gal named Grace.
Oh.
Here's Heather Lane.
Amazing grace, she's on the bus now, headed downtown to take her place, and know that face behind the beauty. She's so lonely and wants a change. She's just 18, the boys are waiting, and they're wanting some amazing grace, and she'll go with a smile, but all the while she'll be crying inside. now locked away. She cries, she's so sorry. What a wasted life. Until that day, a man with a Bible told her about the one who took her place. Wow, an amazing grace. I hear her singing about the one who took her place. An amazing grace. She came from nothing. Now she's something. Amazing grace. Amazing And here I stand where she lay, thinking about the one who took my place.
Heather Lane. Visit her website and listen to a lot more of her music at Heather Lane. That's HeatherLayne.com. HeatherLayne.com. Until our next broadcast, this is the Monty Man along with the Take 12 Recovery Radio Gang, and we're wishing God's perfect serenity for you. Bye-bye now.
Good guys, bad boys, we're all the same. Saved by grace is the name of the game. Turn around, hit the ground, time to lay a burden down.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
Cause she's a super cat, she's super kitty, meow.
Here, kitty, 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 kitty.